All right, looks like we're live. Let's get the tunes rolling in here. Give people a minute to sign up, join in. We'll get rolling here. All right, if you're watching live, let's sign in and come join us. Leave a comment in the chat box. Awesome. All right, we got the chats up. Fantastic. Welcome to Ask a Realtor, episode 6. Boom. Your host here, Joseph Ausmus with eXp Realty. And we got some fun topics to discuss tonight here lined up. But of course, this is live. So if you're on live, you have the opportunity to drop questions, tell stories, anything like that in the chat box. I'm checking the chats periodically as we go, and happy to answer those questions and open up new discussions on new topics. We don't have to stick to the topics that I have planned. I just wanted to make sure that we have something lined up. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in here and go into real estate wholesaling. What is it? Well, I first have a story to tell you. Before I got my license in 2017, I started my career in real estate by becoming a wholesaler. I did this for about a year, and it led me to the path of getting my license because I got my feet wet in speaking with sellers of homes and seeing what we could potentially get them in terms of an offer on their home, connecting them with cash buyers, kind of the name of the game there. But I want to give you a more formal definition. So here we go. I'm going to dive right into this here. Jumping over to a website that I've referenced on the show here before called biggerpockets.com. If you've never checked out that website, highly recommend that you do so. They've got amazing forums, blog post articles. I think last time we talked about Landlord 101. Now we're going to do Wholesaler 101. So diving right in here, real estate wholesaling is when you look up the definition of the word wholesale in the dictionary, you get the following: the sale of goods in quantity as to retailers or jobbers for resale, opposed to retail. So in real estate, we know that retail properties are those sold on the MLS through agents representing buyers and sellers. And in opposition to that, we have wholesale properties that are typically sold off market at a discount and in quantity to retailers, aka investors, who use these properties to turn a profit. Got that? So retail would be a normal buy and sale process. A seller hires a realtor to represent them to list their property. We find a retail buyer, perhaps someone that's going to come in and live in the property as their primary residence, and they're often represented by a buyer's agent. Boom. We have a buyer and a seller link up, offer, accepted, contract, close. That's retail, right? They're paying top dollar. They're paying what the market rate is for that property. So flip the coin to the other side. We're talking about off-market deals now. What is an off-market deal? Well, it's a deal that doesn't get presented out there through the MLS to the entire market. It may be presented to just a pool of buyers. Sometimes we refer to that if there's a listing within a real estate brokerage, it might be referred to as a pocket listing. But when it's not even with a realtor at all, and it's just a seller that's looking to sell their property and they sell it to an investor and it never even hits the market, then that's considered off market. So wholesalers, what they do is they find these properties, they approach these sellers and say, look, I work with buyers, cash buyers that can close quickly with no concessions, no appraisal, anything like that. Very streamlined process, but the convenience you're going to pay for, and you pay for that by selling it for less than what you would get for it on the retail market. The wholesaler will then take that deal, approach their buyer pool, and say, "Look, I have this deal. These are what the numbers look like on here. Um, let me know if you're interested." They find a buyer for it. They're a deal finder for these investors. Whether it's someone that's going to flip it, they're going to come in and do some renovations to the property and then put it back on the market for that retail dollar amount. Or if they're going to put a renter in there and be a landlord. There are both types of investors, right? There's even investors that do a kind of hybrid strategy there, where they buy, renovate, rent, refi. BRRR is an abbreviation for that strategy. I consider it a hybrid between being a long-term landlord and a short-term, just a flipper, get in and get out. So anyways, these are all different types of buyers that a wholesaler might be a deal finder for. And that's what I did. I had a company called Ausmus Services. Those of you that have known me for a little bit, that's what I was doing with that company. And there's different ways to find sellers, and that's the challenge, is to find a seller that wants to sell their property that's not already on the market, that is also experiencing a problem, a unique situation. Maybe they have a move, some sort of medical bill of death in the family, marriage, divorce, something changed in their life, and they need to unload that property. And they don't care if they make the retail dollar for it. They're not interested in doing any repairs. They're not interested in doing a bunch of showings. So a cash offer system like this might work great for that individual, for that seller. So that's when the wholesaler comes in. But as you can imagine, those situations are far and few between. So it's tough business. But I wanted to bring it up here today because I recently got contacted by a wholesaler. Great kid, actually. He's continuing to look for deals for me here, and to see if we can put a deal together. If maybe one of my investor clients would be interested in buying a property from him. So I want to talk a little bit more about how that works here. But let me first check in on the stream and on the chat. Oh yes, we got a thumbs up. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback. Yes. I always love it when people are logging in and checking it out and letting me know that you're at least able to see and hear the video and give me that thumbs up feedback. That's awesome. Beautiful. And then checking on the chats real quick here. Okay. Quiet in the chat box this evening, but that's all good. That is all good. We're just going to keep rocking and rolling through the wholesaling topic here. So, in the retail market, it's typical for a person to maybe buy one house every 7 years or so. But when it comes to investors, it's common for them to buy one or more per month for these higher end, bigger investors, right? So a real estate wholesaler is someone who simply gets extremely cheap properties that are good investments for investors. They sell the property slightly higher than what they purchased it for, while still leaving plenty of margin for the investors to make a great return. Kind of cool, huh? You just get a cheap deal and then turn around and sell it for a quick profit. It's that simple. That's wholesaling, just from a very high level, 10,000 foot high level, that you're going to buy it at X amount. And there are different strategies that wholesalers use for this. There's different types. The most common type is called assignment. It's the most commonly known method of wholesaling real estate, and some even think it's the only kind. Essentially, when you wholesale through assignments, what you do is get a property under contract, and then you go find an investor who can sell you the rights of that contract to. For example, let's say that there's a house where the seller wants 150K. You run your numbers, see the comps in the area, say they could sell retail for, let's say 160. No, that's not good. 180, right? So we've got about 30,000 spread in there, and then it's looking like maybe 20 grand rehab. Okay, so there's about 10 grand profit there for someone to come in and buy that property. If they could buy it for the 150, turn around, put in this 20 into it, they're 170 in, turn around and sell it for 180. Hey, they can make a little spread there, right? So you would write the purchase agreement with the seller at 150K as a wholesaler. And then during your due diligence period, then you turn to your buyer's list and offer to sign that contract. And you bump it up. Maybe you make it, 155. Less appealing if you only have 5 grand there for your investor, right? So you might need it to sell for 200, because then they're making 25 on the back end. That's a great deal right there. So it all depends on, and being a good wholesaler means really knowing your numbers. You got to know that the amount that you're purchasing it for, that you're going to be able to estimate those rehab costs well, turn around and sell it, and you got to know that they're going to be able to get a certain ARV, which is aftermarket value. That's kind of the nuts and bolts there of the wholesale business. You got to know your numbers very well. Otherwise, if you're just throwing deals out there at your investors and you don't know your numbers, they're probably not going to take you too seriously as a wholesaler. So, I wanted to bring that topic out, and I thought it was a kind of cool one, taking me back to my roots, because that was what got me excited about getting into real estate, to be able to assign these contracts to investors and make a little spread for myself and my family to build a business that way. Well, that led me down the path of, how can I help even more people? I'm helping investors find these deals. I'm helping sellers get out of these situations. How can I help even more people with real estate and still build a good business for myself? Led me down the path of getting my license. And so glad I did that back in 2017. Looking back on it, it was best decision that I made for my business, for sure, hands down. Well, awesome. Just wanted to kind of touch on that. If you have questions about wholesaling or investing, anything like that, leave me a comment. Throw it in the chat box now, or you can always just shoot me a message later, and I'd love to grab a cup of coffee with you, even if it's virtually over Zoom, and just chat away and see what we can answer for you. Cool. Good deal. So I have another topic that I want to bring in, but first let me check in and see how we're doing on the chats here. Okay. Quiet in the chat box. That's all good. I must be putting out some good content that people are just like soaking up like a sponge. No questions or anything like that. So no worries there. Let's dive into the next one here. Public records. My man A brought this up to me. He wanted to know what sort of public records are available to you when you're buying a property. Well, there are several. If you're buying a property that has a well on it, you can actually access that well permit. First step being to make sure that there actually is a well permit. If you've got a property with a well on it that's not permitted, you won't have a well permit. You won't have that record. You won't know how deep the well is. You won't know, the bore width. There's a lot of information that you won't know about it. You can get it inspected by a well inspector, and that will shed some light on it. But more importantly, it's a non-permitted well. and you could get into trouble for utilizing that water. I don't see it very common, but typically most wells that are still in use that are not capped off are going to have a permit, and you can access those. There is a website to do so. Here in Colorado, it's dwr.state.co.us. I'm going to go ahead and throw this website link into the chat box here. Boom. And on the replay, I apologize. I don't think you're actually going to see this. What I'll do is I'll put it in the YouTube comments. So if you didn't get a chance to check this out live and look at the live chats, you'll still have access to that website link. So I threw it up there. Basically, you can just plug in your geographic location, permit status, permitted use. You can dial it down, from there. Do a search, see what comes up for you. You can do an address search in there, county parcel ID, permit number, all that. So there's a lot of different options to find that information out in there. You can read through the well permit, see what the intended uses are for it, and that's a public record here in the state of Colorado. So properties that don't have a well permit, you're going to be on a city tap, or you're going to be doing a what's called a cistern, which is essentially just a water tank. Then you're going to be tanking water into the property. That happens commonly in rural areas too, particularly where they cannot get a well or a well permit. So other examples of public record, you can go to your county building department and you can look up building permits for a place you're buying. Why would that be important? Well, the home inspectors that I use, and I recommend to my clients to use, do this as part of every single home inspection. They'll pull permits and they'll take a look and see what improvements were permitted and what were not. They'll see if there are any open permits, being that someone started the permit process but they did not complete it. Perhaps they had an inspection and it failed. Let's say that they're putting a new roof on and they pulled a permit to start the process and then the permit is open. Well, to close that permit, you have to pass inspection. So maybe that roof was not put on properly. Maybe they, I've seen various things. I've seen open solar permits where there's a company that came in and they put on solar panels. I'm going to do some solar panel fun for you guys on future videos as well, because that's a whole nother video right there. But I've seen it with an open one, and then when I researched the company was no longer in business, so couldn't even contact them to ask them what the permit status was. They had transferred it to another company, and they of course had no clue what was going on. That whole thing was just a mess. But anyways, these are some important things that you may want to know about the property that you're purchasing. So knowing where to look for those public records is important. And you want to make sure that your realtor knows what they're doing. You want to make sure your inspector knows what they're doing when it comes to digging into those public records. That's why I wanted to bring that topic up here on the channel today. Shout out to my man A for asking me that question. I hope that that's a good answer for you there. But I'm not done on the public records topic yet either. Another great place to check for public records would be your county assessor's office. Assessor's office is going to have the public records pertaining to the ownership of the property, the tax status of the property, the square footage, the zoning. I mean, there's a ton of information on the assessor website. Sometimes they'll have a plat map on there. So that is a great resource. You can, on most counties, you can just do an address search right on their website. Plug in your address. It'll show you the owner's name, which is important for circling back to wholesalers. That's an important resource to be able to find those public records for if you're generating a list of prospective sellers to reach out to market to, whether you're doing door knocking, a strategy we call driving for dollars, where you're driving a neighborhood and writing down addresses of properties that look like maybe they're vacant or they have some deferred maintenance. Used to look for blue tarps on the roof. Write down that address. You want to mail them a postcard saying, "Look, I'll buy your house for cash." That sort of thing. So, county assessor. That's where you can find that information. You find that owner's name and mailing address, so that you can get that information sent out to them. Right? Perfect. Awesome. Let me check in here, see how we're doing. Okay. A little bit quiet there on the chat tonight, but we did get some interaction with the thumbs up, and appreciate you guys logging in and checking it all out. If you have future topics, even if it's not relating to buying or selling, but you just want to know about, the real estate business, the market, anything like that, definitely going to do a market segment here because that's quite interesting. I'm sure you hear it on the radio all the time, what the market is like right now, but I'd love to offer you professional perspective on all of that. So we've got great stuff coming on this, and this is going to be a recurring segment every single week. Of course, if you can't make it Wednesdays at 6, every segment is recorded and it goes right up on the YouTube channel. So the best way to know when I'm going live and to access all that fun is to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So I appreciate you guys checking it out this evening. This is your host, Joseph Ausmus, signing off. Peace out, peace and love. Enjoy this snowy Wednesday. Well, if you're not in Colorado, it might not be snowy where you're at, but here we got some snow. Yeah, we're coming up on a foot now, so good times. Anyways, guys, have a great evening. Thanks.